Asslam Alaikum, this is Yusra and you're watching Yusra Tech Talk. So today I have a short video on big data. So before going to start our topic, I would like to give you a brief introduction about technology, that how technology companies and other sectors are using big data to increase their revenues and growing so fast. So here we see so much advancement in technology these days. The world is progressing so fast, especially the IT industry is growing so fast. People are starting their new startups with different ideas. Yeah, so competition is getting very hard in the market. So it's very important right now to talk about that how this sector is growing so fast. What's the secret behind? So here are some of the companies. Like if we talk about Amazon is leading at this time. It is the most customer centric company on earth. So we ask, what is the secret behind it, why it's growing so fast, and why it is the most customer centric company on earth? So the answer will be data. Everything is producing data. Like if we talk about internet is producing data all the time. Like when we are downloading, sharing and uploading, so we are actually dealing with data, we are actually sharing data. So it's all about data, but different kinds of data. Now let's if we talk about e-commerce. Amazon e-commerce is a platform where customers are buying their products at daily basis, and they check that how much data is stored in database. So all the researches, all the records, all customer buying, they signing in their websites, and everything is stored in database. So it's all about data. And in today's video we are also going to talk about data. Because nowadays it is the most hard term these days. So nowadays if you want to start your business, you have to understand how to deal and how to utilize your data, and you have to understand that how companies are dealing with this data and how these are utilizing with the big data and what kind of data they are actually dealing with. So you have to understand. And in today's video we are going to talk about what is data, what is big data, what are the characteristics of big data, and how companies are using big data to increase their revenue, what are the applications of big data, the examples of big data, and what are the big data services provided. So let's get started. Okay, so firstly we have what is data. Data is actually an individual piece of information that we store for later processing. So it is a piece of information, it is not the whole presentation of data. Let's take an example, like he goes to his job at 5 p.m. daily. So here data can be a person or his job, because it's a complete piece of information. So there are basically three types of data. So it's very important to understand all these three types of data before start working with data. So first type is a structured data. We can say there's a proper format of data in the form of rows, columns and tables, and the form of structured data. So it means it has a complete structure where we can perform some analysis and run some queries like SQL queries and get useful information. Okay, next we have semi-structured data. It is basically the combination of structured data and unstructured data. For example, .csv, .json file. So they are structured data but also in unstructured form. And the third type is unstructured data, for example PNG and social media files. So if you want to convert them into text file, like if we want to convert PNG file into a text file, so in our laptop when we click on open with Word or Notepad, we see some unstructured or random data on our screen without any proper structure. So it is unstructured data. And now let's talk about what is big data, which is also the topic of this video. So any data that satisfies the 5V is termed as big data. So these 5V's are volume, variety, velocity, veracity and value. So these are the 5V's of big data. If any data satisfies these 5V's, will turn into a big data. Okay, so now let's discuss all these 5V's one by one. First we have volume, represents a huge amount of data. For example, school, colleges, universities. Schools and universities all over the world produce massive amount of data in the form of students' records, students' results, and etc. So it will be turned into big data. Okay, next we have variety, represent different formats of data from different sources. It means data sources should be different. For example, we are collecting data through internet, Google or through emails. So all these different sources producing data at different formats. So data can be in the form of structured, unstructured or semi-structured form. So these are the types of data which we have already discussed. Okay, next we have value, means extracting useful information. So it means if you are dealing with big data, then it should contain some useful information so that we can use it for later processing. Okay, next one is velocity. It means data should have high speed of accumulation. For example, if any company is producing how much amount of data at every minute or every second and at which speed. So data producing speed should be high to turn into a big data. The last P is veracity. It means inconsistency and uncertainty in data. For example, data source should be trustworthy and accurate so that we can get some useful information in it. Okay, so now let's discuss some of the characteristics of big data. So there are some basic characteristics of big data. So first one is that it is hard to store. So as I have already discussed that data is in huge amount, like it is in the form of gigabytes, terabytes or petabytes. So this amount of data is hard to store in our local computer, laptops and PC because their storage capacity is from 16 GB to 512 GB. So it is the biggest problem of big data, that it is hard to store. And the next one is that it is hard to process. So as we can see, the RAM of our local computers and laptops are from 4 to 8 GB. So it is impossible to process this amount of data with this RAM. So we need laptops or computer with more than 16 GB RAM to process this amount of data. So these are the characteristics, or we can see the problems while working on big data. We were introduced two solutions to solve this problem. Our first problem was that big data is hard to store. So Hadoop was introduced to deal with this problem. It is basically a tool, but when it was first introduced, it was in the form of software. We have to install in our laptops or computer, for then we can use it. But now, after its advancement, we can use it in the form of tool. So it is now it is a kind of tool that provides enough amount of space that we can store our big data easily in the form of files. So it provides us a much amount of capacity so we can store our files. Okay, so now let's talk about the architect of Hadoop, that how Hadoop works. So Hadoop basically consists of a name node, which is also called master node, and some child nodes. Basically, master node contain all the information about child node, that how much storage is left in child node or how much space is being used. So if a client want to upload his file on Hadoop, he goes to name node and asks that he want to upload his file on Hadoop. Then master node, after analyzing all their child node, will decide where to upload this file and contain all this information in itself. So if the file size is large, then master node will decide to divide this file into different parts and distribute into different child nodes. So but when the client get information, get output, it will be in the form of combined form. Okay, so now let's take an imaginary scenario to understand why big data and why it's so important for any company to grow. So for example, there are two organizations, organization A and organization B, and they are competitor with online marketplace. So both organizations are generating sales and customer data for each transaction and use sign up interaction, and organization A decides to use this data to improve their businesses, but organization B doesn't do anything with the data and leave the database as it is. So what happened after that? In span of 2 years, organization A takes over organization B. So now we can get the idea that how much big data is important for any company to grow. And okay, so now let's discuss an application of big data. For example, social media entertainment industry. Social media entertainment industry producing a high amount of big data every minute at every second. This industry is massive one, and they are leveraging big data to predict sky high results and to boost the revenue for any company. So let us see the different ways by which big data is used in these industries. Okay, so have you ever come across the relevant advertisement on the social media sites and your email box? Well, this is done by analyzing all your previous browsing history, your subscription and your like data. The publisher then display only what you liked in the form of ads, and it will catch your interest by showing what you are most interested to watch and then looking into it. So it's all circulating by your social media. Okay, so next step is customer sentiments analysis. Customers are very important for any company. So here we use the term, the happier the customer, the great company revenue will be. So big data helped and gather all the information about customer by texting, communication, or by using emojis. So these emotions then analyze to get useful information about customer and about their satisfaction. So if the customer is unhappy, then company will try to do better next time and provide their customer better experience. Okay, next we have recommendation engine. While watching videos on entertainment purpose, you might have noticed the recommended list below. So this is personalized list and it is only available to you after analyzing all your data, like your such as your previous browsing history, your liked video, or your subscribed data. So it is a tool that filter and analyze all the data to provide you a list of content that you are more interested to watch. Okay, next we have customer churn analysis. So this churn happens when a customer cancels a subscription to a company with its services. Okay, lastly, now let's talk about some of the big data services provider. Previously we have discussed some of the big data services provider like Hadoop, HDFS, and Apache Spark. These are the software that we use for store and process our data. But now there are some cloud providers that are providing their services, such as Google and Amazon are providing their services, are providing their big data services by simply using their online provider. So that is even better. We don't need to install all these software in our computer to process our data. We can simply process our data by using these online provider, using all the different providers. So that is even better. Okay, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you had a lot of fun while learning about what is big data and how it's so important these days for any company to grow, and why you have to understand about big data and their services provider. See you next time. Tab tak Allah Hafiz.